Hello again, friends, it's me Lavrentia Valiona with you. And today I'll show you this type of extension, a kind of salon style one. So what do we have here? I'll be demonstrating on the very shortest finger. The pinky, the hand is about half the size of mine. As you can see, here's my thumb, and from above you can see how tiny this finger is. It feels like I'm about to extend a little pinky. But there are other interesting things here. There's going to be a nail that grows upward. It's called a trampoline. So when working with nails like these, there are some nuances that I'll try to show, clarify, and explain to you in as much detail as possible in this long video. So here's what we do. First, we completely remove all the length. We don't need it, so we trim it as short as possible. Because if our nail is like a ramp, meaning it goes upward like this, then we need to remove this part as much as possible. So we file it down and try to visually lower it a little bit this way. Next, remove all corners. Avoid filing a square shape. Instead, create a very soft square or an oval. Next, we start trimming. This is just regular tape. It comes in different colors. It looks like a bandage, but it stretches, and it's not only used by athletes. I think I saw, where I saw tape? On the show Vishka on Channel 1. A long time ago that happened, and I was so surprised. And then tape appeared in our pathological lives, including in the nail salon. So what did we start doing? We used them to create tension, and in this case I will use the tape to pull back the nail fold. I'll show you a less correct way first, then a better one. As you can see, this finger is very soft, moves in different directions, and is hard to work on. In general, we try to change something to do it at least somehow properly, but what we got is what we got. So we stick it to the side of the nail fold, then fix it with a finger like I'm doing now, then we apply some tension and then stick it again. So the task is to do it a little bit crisscross like this, but our main goal right now is to apply this tension symmetrically. Now I'm showing you, see, on one side, the outer side, it worked, but on the other side it didn't, so I removed everything and now I'm redoing it. It's important that the rolls are pressed back on both sides. This is especially true if the rolls are fluffy, like in our case, meaning both the ramp and the rolls are fluffy. Everything tends to get in the way and feels uncomfortable. To prevent the rolls from distorting your form or squeezing out the gel, be cautious. There's a pretty cool way to do this. So what we're doing now is repeating the exact same procedure, but now I'm trying to do it absolutely symmetrically. And there's nothing wrong with reapplying your tapes and doing everything over again. The main thing is to get a good result. And now I'll show you what we end up with. There will be a side view, everything is attached and secured. Now both pads look visually symmetrical to me. The main thing is to make sure the tape doesn't go under the nail, and right now you can clearly see that the nail tends to grow upward. Here's that little ramp right here too. If you place the upper form, let's say, in the usual way like this, then the nail will end up cutting through the volume of the gel. Let me show you again. Here we place it, you see, we have the very tip, and now we can even press a little on the cuticle, so it will be more or less like this. As a result, it will create a very thin gel layer there. And of course, this will be quite a risky situation, because that's exactly where the nail usually breaks. In this case, by the way, I used matryoshka forms from Emenka. These are cool forms that have an oval on one side and a square on the other. And as for the primer and dehydrator, I have them from Iris K. By the way, I've been using them for quite a while, and they don't cause any lifting. I'm showing the standard preparation. I carefully dehydrate everything, make sure everything is nice and dry so it holds well and it dries in the air just as it should. Next, I apply the primer in a thin layer. The brush was a bit cool beforehand. In this video, I'm mixing everything together, and this is definitely a working method, simply because the materials are tried and tested. I'm using an electromagnetic interference base here. I'm applying it in a non-rubbing layer, moderately thin, without any super thick drop. Well, just so it's not super thin, but not thick either. You see, there's some volume, and next we'll use the gel. I have a gloss from Emin, which I'll show on the screen. I thought it was a nice shade, very client-friendly, a good commercial color. So what am I doing? My task right now in this area, where I have the nail bed, is to fill in the missing volume so that my nail no longer looks like it's growing upward like this. So I just showed it with the brush, that's exactly where I'm going to add the volume. I made a wet base and placed a drop, and I realized the drop was too big, so I carefully removed part of it. We do everything slowly, making sure there's no ridge closer to the free edge. We just blend it out, and this is the result we get. So the nail is no longer growing upward as much, but this simple trick will help me place the upper form correctly later so that my nail doesn't get cut. Now I'm evening all of this out and will put it under the lamp for a full cure, but first I'll flash cure it with a flashlight. Great life hack. Also, this ensures nothing leaks for the client. And now when my gel has already cured, I press the upper form like this. You can do it this way, at least with these forms. They definitely allow for this kind of gentle pressing. And now I'm completely satisfied with the architecture. The only thing I'll do is work a little bit away from the cuticle. As always, I mark the most dangerous, tricky spots for myself. You can wipe off a regular marker from the form with a cleanser, so don't worry about it staying. I placed dots along the length, one at a time, marking the free edge so I know what's where and what I'm doing. Right now I'm creating something like a French manicure for myself with a thin layer of gel, so it's kind of an imitation of a French manicure. I'm doing this so that everything gets polymerized there and I have a good strong base. But I'm doing it evenly along the free edge, so that later I can place the main drop and everything will spread out smoothly. I'm working along the entire length of the upper form because it's small, it's not very big, but it's convenient to hold simply because there are actually two pieces in one form. That's really nicely cured. I also use the Emeni flashlight, which people often ask about. It's very convenient. Just touch it to turn it on or off. I used it to cure. Now I'm going to apply the gel over the entire form like this without reaching the cuticle. I'll stretch it a bit more but won't continue since I already applied some gel earlier. And when I connect all of this, it will become a single solid structure, so I don't need gel near the cuticle. I'm trying to show you from the side, but I can't. It's basically at a 45-degree angle. This is the standard story. You just pop it on carefully, and you can see by the glitter how the gel settles in place. Everything is set, and of course I ask my model to cure it a little for me, and she does. And then we can move on to working inside under the tips, meaning where we have the free edge. Because right now we've only cured the cuticle, and that means everything inside is still liquid. I turned the finger over to check for leaks, but there are none. Everything looks good and very nice. This is such a cool method because we've already polymerized the gel before everything is set and fine, and all that's left is to slightly fix it with a brush. It will also work on squares and essentially any shape or length. So it's an interesting life hack when you create the free edge separately. If you keep it upside down too long while removing it, it will still run onto your skin. You saw everything was fine, someone just took a long time with it. That was me, but at least I showed you clearly. And now, with the help of the orange, I decided to remove a bit of the gel because I realized it was getting a bit too thick. We don't need that much. Modern gels are an amazing product, I can honestly tell you. So, they cushion well even in a thin layer, and in a thick layer they're really dense. And now you don't need a super thick volume because back when gels were as brittle as glass, that was a problem, so nails had to be thick. But now everything can be super thin. And in the end we get this beauty. So basically, this is already a finished nail. And look, the step is really small, it's almost microscopic, tiny, really, really little. Even though we didn't stamp under the cuticle, there's a joint there, or whatever it's called. There wasn't any super clean or dirty print, it was just like this with a gap. This is one of the options, and it's cool, really nice. Not even just when your nails grow upwards, but for example, when you don't want to file under the cuticle until your fingers turn blue. Well, if you don't like it, just go ahead and do it this way, and you'll be really, really happy. Everything will be great. Then I used a nail file to adjust the parallels slightly. Now I always degrease everything from the inside because problems often happen simply because it wasn't degreased enough. I'm showing this tiny microbial step, which I'll now easily and calmly remove as well. You can do this either with a diamond bit or with a soft carbide one, and it's absolutely easy. That's how the nail file works. I bought it for a file manicure, as that's what it was called. So if you use these files, you know where to use them. Because Zhenya went all out on this while I tested the files in different ways. And to avoid irritating the client, you know when they say, oh, something is showing through there. We take a magic top coat, one that matches the color of our gel. I have several of these top coats and love this life hack. When you use gel nails with matching camouflage and top coat, everything becomes more solid. And then the client won't be telling you that something is showing through somewhere, but overall the gel itself here is a bit semi-transparent, so I think it turned out well. So neat and pretty. Yes, you can even things out slightly with a small amount of top coat. And you see I gently pull the top coat from the free edge upward, just so I don't get any buildup at the tip. Because the top coat or color application can ruin all your previous work. So to keep everything from getting ruined, just gather it like this, the way I'm doing it. Oh, by the way, I totally forgot about this tape. I had already gotten used to it by then and didn't take it off. So this is the pretty little finger we ended up with. I think it's a beautiful, normal, salon quality client job. I'll say it again, it's salon work. Don't start telling me about the parallel lines, it's just a regular, ordinary nail. From the inside, it seemed a bit flat to me, so I filed it a little. Well, in general, with upper forms, it's normal to file a little bit from the inside sometimes. Here it wasn't anything super complicated. I just went over it a bit and then covered everything completely with top coat. And here's a life hack too. Look, I took the brush from the gel, not the brush from the bottle. Why do I do that? If I use the bottle brush, I take too much product, but the gel brush covers it perfectly. A super thin layer, without making the nails heavier or super thick. This is the option, the only thing is that it's a bit flat. That's because it's an upper form, basically a salon shape. That's just how it is. Well, maybe, and there's this questionable life hack, to be honest, I don't recommend repeating it, but overall you can try it. So you can do it like this. Slightly warm it up. Yes, I prepped it beforehand, warm it up a bit and then press it. Well, honestly, it's kind of so-so. I think clients might just faint from this, but if someone finds it useful, go ahead and use it. Basically, you can press it right on top as long as you don't overcook it, it won't get burnt, and you can press it like this. But overall, I like both ways. I don't think it's critical. I think the nail looks absolutely normal and salon quality. Honestly, I'm tired of people obsessing over perfect nails. It's just nails, we wear them, and that's it.